With Liquidus. My name is Matt Hinkley, CEO, ex-cryptocurrency lead for PricewaterhouseCoopers. Liquidus is a RegTech and FinTech platform, so we really focused on the onboarding of digital identities before thinking about anything else, and then built in a FinTech aspect through strategic partnerships in the Caribbean region, which I will get onto today. We are Caribbean focused. We're born, bred, and raised in the Bahamas, working with a lot of different partners across the Caribbean and Bahamas. And the Liquidus difference in itself, one thing that I really witnessed and realized, and what we aim to achieve, is we're not looking to build a technology platform and hope that people adapt to our technology. We're hoping to really work with local governments and corporations to bring our technology to them. So we've built a solution which wraps around existing infrastructure, allows for typical employees within banks or corporate service providers, as an example, to keep doing their job, but just do it in a more effective manner, which I just wanted to bring up. So in terms of the problem, Liquidus was actually formed initially from PricewaterhouseCoopers when we came up with an idea for the homeless called Silver Linings. It was taking data from smartphones of the homeless, turning this into a form of currency to spend on the streets for the youth homeless here. This we see as being very opportunistic for digital currencies, the way in which data can interact with digital currencies moving forward. But more in particular with the Caribbean, we wanted to increase the ease of doing business. If we can bring a lot more business and funds into the Caribbean, it brings a lot more wealth, brings a lot more money, and then have the ability to move this across different jurisdictions or islands within the Caribbean. It creates a lot more financial inclusion. So jumping into it just really quickly, a little bit about our solution, and then I'll get into more of the kind of fintech aspect. The very first thing you need to do from Liquidus is to create a compliant digital identity. So we use our own build of ocular character recognition to really withdraw information from passports, national insurance cards, driving licenses that we're all working with in the Bahamas right now. And this creates what I call a virtual avatar solution. So based on the amount of identity that you upload and the amount of transactions that you have within our blockchain infrastructure really determines your level of compliance, and therefore opens up public or private services within our separate blockchain protocol. So as you see here, an identity is created. It's created onto a federated governed chain, which is jurisdictional focused. And this opens up to public and private services, and then a corporate services portal. As Jason mentioned there, when the DARE bill comes out in the Bahamas, we'll be looking to work with digital assets too, around token custody, asset tokenization, and working with some of the licenses that we have too. Very holistically, this is our digital ecosystem that is built right now. We've got a digital identity infrastructure, which, as I mentioned, is related to your compliance standard, sand dollar integration and automated clearinghouse, which I'll come on to a little bit later. But more importantly, our identity layer is jurisdictional focused and attested, meaning that we've got fully on-chain governance, and that we can work with other jurisdictions when looking at cross-border payments, but everything is on-chain. Our secondary protocol, which is a fork of EOS to create our own governance, is a corporate services marketplace to open up to different government services or private services, which is one of our pilots that I'll talk about in a second. So one of the most important things with Liquidus, as I mentioned, is not just building technology and hoping people adapt. It's building technology around existing infrastructure, but making sure that we've got the right partners to give us the right licenses to create this financial inclusion in a regulated manner. So one of our partners that we work with has given us the ability to have a MasterCard sponsorship license. So this is a very important license for us, as it allows us to really create MasterCards for government institutions, create MasterCards for banks or any other corporate company that there is. This was recently seen in Nigeria with their national identity card, and it's got many features. So it can be virtual or plastic. It's linked into our digital ID. We can do full demonstrations live right now around how this works in our system. The second license that we have access to, and we're actually an agent of, is called a Payment Electronic Service Provider license. As Jason mentioned, once again, one of the biggest issues with digital currencies right now is the ability to go in between digital and fiat currencies. We solved this issue with this license. There's only 2 that have been administered by the Central Bank of the Bahamas, and very few worldwide. It's actually 2 European licenses made up into one. So the ability to issue electronic money, and then the ability to work with merchants on the retail scale to accept digital or fiat currencies and translate between them. Opportunity here, as mentioned by consensus, 80% of central banks are looking at ways in which they can deal with digital currencies. I think that they'll look to regulated financial institutions when looking at the types of technology they can use to interact with these central bank digital currencies. Other Liquidus features about ourselves. So currently, as it stands, we have the ability to clear and settle across 16 different countries in the Caribbean, all through partnerships that we have. And we have a payment switch, automated clearinghouse already in place. And we directly settle with the central bank when it comes to the digital currency, the sand dollar. We've got a working prototype of all of this, which I'm happy to showcase to anyone interested as well. Just a couple of projects that we're working on right now. I aim to keep this presentation very holistic and very simple, just to explain who we are and what we're doing. We are working.
There's 2 minutes left.
Okay, I won't need that much long. I won't need that much time. We're working on a couple of different projects right now. One is a multi-jurisdictional digital identity for a bank. They've got multiple banks in different jurisdictions, and we're looking to create a private ecosystem, private chain, to onboard private wealth clients and prove out cross-border payments and investments into mutual funds and bonds. And then also working on a national digital identity linked to a prepaid MasterCard solution here in the Caribbean, which we're very excited to roll out as well. So kept the presentation very holistic, very basic, but excited to hear from everyone. We've now got the technology and licenses to scale at mass from businesses or individual standpoint. So if there's any questions, please let us know.